I am an African.
An iconic African statesman, Thabo Mbeki, caught the image of a cerebral leader whose erudition and scholarship stand him apart from the African leader stereotype. Born on June 18, 1942 in South Africa, Mbeki was the second child in a political family. While in college, his interest in politics blossomed and he joined the African National Congress Youth League at age 14.
We grew up in a political family. That meant that we got exposed to this challenge of having to respond to the apartheid system. There wasn't any sort of direct instruction, but I'm saying growing up in that kind of situation, which among other things, you learn to read a lot because it's that kind of household. So the habit of trying to discover, to find out things, to check what is reality, thinking and all of that, is something that we were brought up with.
As the South Africa of the 60s was intolerant of his political leanings and affiliations, the young Mbeki proceeded to London to further his studies. By 1966, he had bagged a master's degree in economics from Sussex University. The African National Congress offices in London was his next port of call, where he worked with Communist Party leader Yusuf Dadov. In 1969, he moved to Moscow to study at the Institute of Social Science. Between the 70s and 90s, Mbeki rose through the ranks in ANC, holding significant positions and shaping the outlook of the party too. Narrowly missing an assassination attempt on his life in 1986, his political activism knew no bounds. He will not back down till he saw a new South Africa. Mbeki developed a different philosophy regarding change in South Africa's political structure. In 1990, he persuaded the ANC to stop the armed struggle against the apartheid regime, believing that negotiations rather than guns held the key to freedom. That same year, he officially returned to South Africa from exile. Mbeki's rise to political power continued in 1993 when he was elected chairman of the ANC. He addressed the elimination of apartheid at the United Nations. The next year, Mbeki was sworn in by Nelson Mandela as the deputy president of South Africa's new government of national unity. Later in the year, he was appointed deputy president of African National Congress. Mbeki was elected the president of the ANC and of South Africa in 1999 and then won a second term as president of the ANC in 2002. In South Africa's 2004 elections, the ANC won the majority of votes. Mbeki was elected to a second term as president of the country on the same day the country celebrated its 10th anniversary as a democratic entity. As the two-term president of an independent South Africa, after the completion of Nelson Mandela's term as president, not only was he the brain behind much of what transpired during Mandela's presidency as the deputy president, he went ahead to make significant impression on the society during his presidency. During his time in office, the economy grew at an average rate of 4.5% per year. Mbeki created employment in the middle sectors of the economy and oversaw a fast-growing black middle class with the implementation of Black Economic Empowerment (BEE). He attracted the bulk of Africa's foreign direct investment (FDI) and made South Africa the focal point of African growth. He was the architect of NEPAD, whose aim is to develop an integrated social-economic development framework for Africa. Mbeki also oversaw the successful building of economic bridges to BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, and China nations, with the eventual formation of the India-Brazil-South Africa Dialogue Forum to further political consultation and coordination, as well as strengthening sectorial cooperation and economic relations. Mbeki has mediated in difficult and complex issues on the African continent, including Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo DRC, Cote d'Ivoire, and some important peace agreements.
We can see in what ways to make proposals to the African Union as to what the African Union might do to deal with problems of human rights violations, crimes against humanity, and so on, problems of impunity in Darfur. But at the same time, while dealing with that question, which has to be dealt with, to make sure that those interventions don't compromise the process towards finding peace in Darfur.
He oversaw the transition from the Organization of African Unity OAU to the African Union AU. He became a vocal leader of the non-aligned movement in the United Nations, and while leveraging South Africa's seat on the Security Council, he agitated for reform of that body.
With regard to the position of the President of the Republic, accordingly, I would like to take this opportunity to inform the nation that today I handed a letter to the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Baleka Mbete, to tender my resignation from the high position of President of the Republic of South Africa.
Since his resignation from the highest political office in his country in 2008, Mbeki has continued to be involved in non-elected leadership positions in the African region.
Today, it feels good to be an African.